Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you're having a fantastic day. We are going to follow up on a video I did the other day with Kate Martin talking about having another basketball job in the off season. One of the things I speculated about was that she would be in the Unrivaled 3v3 league, and what would that mean in terms of Caitlin Clark? Would that be an opportunity for them to play together? Is that even the reason the league brought in Kate Martin? So this was actually, it's weird because I talked about this. This was actually posted yesterday, which is really interesting because I also got some other information that I want to share with you just about the league in general and how that goes back to this. Napheesa Collier started Caitlin Clark Unrivaled WNBA rookie speculation, and how she did it apparently in an interview was talking about the number of rookies in the league when she talked about, because there are more announcements. I think I said in the last video that August 12th there'll be more announcements about who is going to participate in the league. We have 30 players, 10 have already been announced, so we have 20 more that we haven't heard about. Collier recently did a Q&A, and she was asked about how many rookies are playing for Unrivaled. Now, of course, that question was asked because of Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese has already been announced. And she posted this on Twitter. It says, and counting. Now, as this article alludes to, Snoop's holding up four fingers. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean four rookies or three more rookies after Angel Reese to get four. It could just be indication that, there's going to be more. We're counting. There's going to be more. She talked about Angel Reese and quote, Angel is a businesswoman and knows the power of ownership. This is the one investment as basketball players we can control. Angel is part of this group that's bringing in a ton of viewership. She should have long-term upside in the growth of basketball. Um, it's not really an investment you as basketball players can control because it's all going to be based on whether or not you draw the fans to keep the investors happy that you'll have to pay back, and the media rights deals, if there's going to be one, that will have to be satisfied as well for what they put into it. So you have to put out a product that's going to get enough people watching that you get a return on your investment. And I think I mean, I understand this is part of the narrative now. She has to say this, but Angel is part of this group that's bringing in a ton of viewership. She's not. There's no group. There's no group bringing in a ton of viewership. There is Caitlin Clark. I mean, we can go back over and over and over again. We can talk about the arenas that have to be switched in Atlanta and Washington and LA, sorry, Vegas and so forth because of Caitlin Clark. We can talk about the Fever already setting a record, a league record in 26 games for home and away attendance combined. We can talk about there hasn't been a million viewer game on TV since 2008. I think there's been 16 this year. I think the top 10 or 11 are all Caitlin Clark, and 14 of the 16 involve Caitlin Clark, and the other two are games that are connected to the Fever on television before or after. So this idea, and this is what's a big risk for their media rights deal going forward. By the way, there's got to be some stuff in there from the Amazon and Disney and so forth that's saying, hey, if you can't sustain this and spread it to the league of being more than Caitlin Clark, you're not getting all this money because we're not going to be able to turn a profit. Now, as you may know, each player in Unrivaled is set to receive stake in the league, as well as the highest average salary in women's professional sports history. I don't know how accurate that is. Maybe teams. I'm not sure how they're figuring out, but it could be. Maybe that's true. It's reportedly set to double the average pay in the WNBA. And there's also going to be a 1v1 tournament with prize money of 250K on the line. That is also supposedly what all the players are going to make. And as it says here, It's a good bet Kate Martin will be one of them based on some crypto comments she recently made, which is what I did the video on. And my guess, and we're going to get into details why in a moment, that they are really working hard right now to get Caitlin Clark, because I think they're realizing that they're absolutely going to need her to make this a sustainable success. Because like I said, this is a league with investors. Okay, this is not the NBA saying, you know what, keep losing millions, we're just going to cover you. It's good PR for us. And if we were to say, no, we're not going to cover your losses anymore, it would be a PR nightmare for us. So I'm guessing that all these investors, at least a significant portion of them, are making an investment to get money back. They're not just trying to throw away cash. So you see, Atlanta's star-studded investor lineup aims to pay highest average salary in women's pro sports, which we talked about. So we have investors including former ESPN president John Skipper, former Warner Brothers CEO Anna Sarnoff, and athletes like Megan Rapinoe and Steve Nash. I also believe Alex Morgan is another one. And let's see if there was something else in this one, because I've got another article that's really important that ties all this together and goes back to Caitlin Clark. See, seed funding round that closed ahead of its January launch. So understand, there's got to be a lot of money. All these investors need to get their money back, and then on top of that, you're giving the athletes themselves equity in the new league to share in that profit. I don't know where all this money is going to come from unless you get Caitlin Clark. Now, again, you've got right ESPN president, former ESPN president John Skipper, ex-Turner president David Levi or Levy, I'm not sure how he says it, Anna Sarnoff, which I mentioned, Carmelo Anthony, ex-NBA player. Oh, here it is, Alex Morgan, and venture capital firm led by her. And it says here, I believe it's a good investment that David and I and the other group of investors have the chance to be on the ground floor of something that I think is going to be quite impactful. It's a rare opportunity where we can create something and don't need to disrupt something else, being that it's WNBA off season. Now, I also saw, I just want to see if I can find it on here. I can tell you without finding it, but this goes back to about playing overseas, and they wouldn't have to do that because there's some overlap and so forth. Here's what I wanted to get to, just so you know, because I wasn't sure about this last time in a video when I talked about how, because they hinted at maybe playing multiple locations. Maybe that's down the line. They talked about one location, which it looks like that's what it's doing. They're going to build a facility in Miami. That's one court, two baskets. For those of you that don't know, and I think I mentioned this in one video, but you may not have seen it, it is not like 3v3 that we see internationally. It's not like 3v3 in the Olympics. It actually is going to be full court. It says about 2/3. I believe I read somewhere that it's going to be 70 feet. A regulation court's 94 feet. I think it's basically about the same width. I think I saw where it might be like a couple feet narrower, but you're going to have a lot of space and it is going to still be up and down. So it's much more quote unquote real basketball. It just happens to be 3v3 instead of 5v5. So it's not really going to be something that's completely disruptive. I know there were people that comment about how it would be disruptive for playing in the WNBA because of it being so different, but it won't be that different other than it's fewer players. And I'll tell you what, it may be good. I will say this, it may be good. Now, I don't know about the 30 that are playing. I'm actually thinking more players that play with Caitlin Clark. It might be good for them because with that space, I think you can see more running, which I think is something the WNBA needs to do more of as a whole, as a league. Of course, you have to have the players that can do it, but if you can, I think it's much more attractive for fans. I think we've seen that with the Fever. Look, Aaliyah Boston's a good post player. She is, but I think we'll all agree that Aaliyah Boston can also run the court, and it's much more entertaining watching Aaliyah Boston with the pick and rolls with Caitlin Clark, or running the court with Caitlin Clark in the fast break and getting her balls in the paint and so forth while she's on the move, than her posting up and throwing it in there in the slow moving game, especially when you don't have that athleticism in the NBA with the vertical leap and everything. It's just much more exciting to see a player like Aaliyah Boston being part of the running game than the half court game. But anyway, sorry, I got a little sidetracked, but I think that's important. That's maybe something 3v3 can bring to the league. So it's going to be interesting. Oh, here's even more. Like I said, Morgan has a venture firm, Tribe Ventures. Other top athletes and sports figures invested in it. Unrivaled Steve Nash, LGPA champion Michelle Wee West, Olympic gold medalist Megan Rapinoe, and Kobe Altman, the general manager of the NBA's Cleveland Cavaliers. And unfortunately, the NCAA University of Connecticut women's basketball head coach Gino Auriemma. Got Tyrus and Trey Jones are investors, other investors. So we're just kind of going over this again. But so there are a lot of people with money, with hands in the pie, that are going to need to see a return on investment. They may have a plan that says profitable in 3 years or 5 years, but it's not going to be indefinite. They're going to need to see a return on investment. Now, the duo said media rights negotiations. We're talking about Skipper and Levi, who have experience in this type of thing. They'll negotiate the media rights deals for Unrivaled. So, to that point, I want to get to this next thing. Unrivaled Basketball League signs Allie as first founding brand partner. That's important. That's a big deal. So some of the things is that they're going to be the jersey patch partner for all 6 inaugural teams, activating hospitality engagement opportunities, appearing in online, digital, and in-arena signage, having an Alley Lounge at the games. And like I said, the league will play in Miami. Now here it says as a venue that has not yet been announced, as opposed to they're building one. This article is more recent than the other one. So I would hope this would be more accurate. But one thing I really wanted to mention, which is why I'm going to tie this all together. The league does not yet have a media rights deal. Does not yet have a media rights deal. Said the deal will then come with a significant piece of media with that broadcast partner, said Brimmer. It will help us move closer and closer to hit that 50-50 pledge. Some of the investors in the league are former big executives at big broadcast platforms. They're talking to a lot of people, but I'm hoping we're going to land on a big platform. I think there's going to be a lot of interest around this. Now, I think with everything that's going on here, with all these investors, all these hands in the pie, people and companies that are going to want money back. Venture capital firms don't throw money away. These players, you're talking about giving them $250,000 for this short season. You're talking about giving them equity. You need a huge media rights deal. You don't have one in place yet. Behind the scenes right now, there is a lot of begging going on with Caitlin Clark, because don't tell me that that media rights deal would not be 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x or more of what it's going to be in a league without Caitlin Clark. It is going to be a huge different number, a huge difference between the two numbers. And you've got a lot of people who are probably saying, we have to get Caitlin Clark. A lot of people, because you saw us go through that whole number. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. I'm looking forward to the announcements on the 12th. I don't know if that's going to be the final 20 players or just some more. It may not be the final 20. Maybe they wanted it to be, but if they're still negotiating and trying to get Caitlin Clark, maybe they'll come out with like the next 10, because they're still holding off because they need to get Caitlin Clark to make this viable. So I'm curious what you all think in the comments. Really, and again, if you didn't see my other videos, you didn't comment then, let me know if you think whether Caitlin Clark should even do it, if the being a full court game basically matters to you. I know a lot of people said not to do it and she should rest and work on her game, which I completely understand. Look, because of everything going around the WNBA, I don't think she owes them anything. So I can definitely be like, hey, don't do it, because why should you help them out? That being said, unlike, say, the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball and the NHL and everything, the WNBA is a much shorter in season. Most of those leagues are almost, when you think of the rest and recovery the players need, they're basically year round because the offseason's so short, they need that as part of the recovery. The WNBA season's only 4 months. I do believe WNBA players do need to play some type of competitive mini season, even if it's not an official one, in order to develop, stay sharp and develop. 8 months is a long, long off season to not play competitively in your sport at the professional level. So let me know if you think she should do this. Should she go overseas as a different option? She should look at something else. Let me know your thoughts on what you think about the league being, is it going to make it? Is it going to make it only if Caitlin Clark's involved? And so on and so forth. So let me know. I appreciate you checking out this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does mean a lot. And I will talk to you later.